Hey friends, Dustin here, and I wanted to offer you just a few midweek thoughts to help inform us as we navigate yet another week of this COVID 19 crisis. And this was brought on by a few experiences that I've witnessed this week. First, I was on the road driving down the highway and encountered construction, and the road and the landscape all around me was tore up. And even though we were driving down a double lane highway with dotted lines in the middle, there were signs everywhere saying, stay in your lane. Now, even with those double yellow lines, I could have easily crossed over under normal circumstances and it would have no ill consequence on myself or anyone else, as long as I was checking my rearview mirrors and signals and all of that. But in these circumstances, shifting in the midst of this construction, shifting in the midst where everything was tore up, destroyed all around us, could have dire consequences. And a few days ago, my friend Elisa actually made a post replying to something similar. She said, just like in traffic, stay in your lane. Also, I'm paraphrasing here, she said, the same applies to the professional world as well. And those two things, coupled with me seeing the discourse that's happening all around us, now that the pressure is starting to build to get back to normal, when data is flying left and right of, well, is it this or is it that, or the number's this or the number's that, when is blah, 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 blah going on? I've watched discourse that's pretty alarming, specifically coming from folks who are Christians. And I want to offer this and use the message from this past week and offer an addendum to it. So if you remember, this past week, we looked at Exodus 14. If you checked out any of the Radial Church or Beacon of Hope sermons, you would know that we looked at Exodus 14. It's this passage where Moses is leading the Israelites out of Egypt, out of captivity. The Pharaoh and his army starts to close in on them, and God parts the sea. The people cross through it, safe and sound. God makes a way, even with the sea there. But there's something that's interesting that starts to happen right in the middle of that chapter. See, folks start to notice everything tore up around them, so to speak. They start to see all the dismay and destruction that is around them. They are with their backs against the sea and their captors are closing in on them. We feel like our backs are against the wall. We're in isolation and there's this disease. Many of us are financially in really, really difficult times now because of the shutdown. And we feel, I'm sure, like a lot of those Israelites felt in that sort of sense. But Moses, trying to speak to them, says, he tries to calm them down. And he says, calm down, wait. Just stand still, stand firm, be still. Just call out to God, trust God. And there's a lot of good things that Moses is saying there. But when God replies to him, he comes with a sharp chastisement. He says, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. I think that's an interesting thing here, because on first glance, it seems like God's yelling at Moses for having the people pray to him when they're in trouble, but that's not the case at all. See, it's God's response, what comes next, that reveals what he's actually upset with Moses about. He, in response to Moses saying, stand still, be silent, stand firm, God's saying, who told you to tell them to stand still? This is the time to get moving. Look, I'm parting the sea. Get going. And what I think God is actually chastising Moses about is Moses wasn't staying in his lane. Moses was meandering in a different lane that he had no business meandering into. And so what does this mean for us? And what am I really concerned of pastorally in seeing other believers and what they're saying and how they're interacting with this? Well, it's simply this. We need to stay in our lane. Changing lanes at this juncture in history could be incredibly damaging. Now, what do I mean by changing lanes? Well, first off, a lot of folks, just because I'm a leader, have been asking me what my thoughts are medically on this, or with the economy and getting jobs back, or politically, or da-da-da-da-da. But the reality is I keep steering them back to the experts. I am a pastor. I am not a medical professional. And so I am not going to meander into that lane of giving medical advice or giving medical prospects, positive or negative. I am not going to wander into pseudoscience and pseudo medicine in hopes that it will pander to what I prefer to be going on. That's dangerous. Likewise, with the economics. I barely passed high school math. I barely passed with the charity of my economics teacher and personal finance teacher in college. I am not an economist. I have no business projecting what the economy should or shouldn't be doing. So I am not going to be a person who's protesting that we open things back up because this, that. I want to also say that in regards to the finances and the economy, I know there are people whose backs are against the wall. They're out of work. They don't know when the next paycheck is going to come in. And so there is the pressure to get back. I had a very dear, close friend say, we need to open back up because people's lives are being destroyed. And the reality is, no, that's not the case. Yes, lives are being destroyed, but they're being destroyed by disease, not a loss of job. Finances are being destroyed. Livelihoods are being destroyed, but not lives themselves. So I'm not going to meander into that lane of economics. Lastly, I'm not going to meander into the lane of political strategy. I'm not a political science major. I'm not a political analyst. I am none of those things. And so I think when the church, specifically because there's this braiding of those three lanes around one another that are tethered to this intersection in history that we're on, we might feel inclined to speak into those and call into those with very strong language. But I think God, if we're not an economist, if we're not a political analyst, if we're not a medical professional, I think God would chastise us the same way he did Moses. What are you doing giving that advice? What are you doing changing lanes at this juncture? It could cause harm to yourself and countless others of people. And so, what is the lane for us as the church? What is the lane that we are the experts in, that we have experience in to offer? Well, it's hope, it's faith, and it's love. The hope that is found from Jesus Christ, the hope that is found in Jesus Christ, and the hope of Jesus Christ. That's our lane. We get to offer that in this time. Faith from, of, in Jesus Christ. We get to offer that in this time. Love from, of, in Jesus Christ. That is the lane. So, friends, I just ask that you be considerate of your words, that you would use a lot of discretion before you repost things that you see that come from sources that are divisive, that are coming from folks that aren't necessarily experts, or that are really coming from the fringes, just to pander to what our preferred sensibilities are at this point. Thank you so much. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you, and we'll see you soon.